Spider-Woman #1. It is a gang war tie-in, but gang war hasn't really started much yet, so we're kind of just going to go into this, and it's kind of an odd one. It's an odd one where you're dealing more about Jessica Drew and the ramifications of what happened in the Dan Slott Spider-Man book, and how when all of that came about, she was severed from the web of life. She came back, but her son didn't come back with her, so she seems to be the only one who remembers that she even had a son. And I guess this whole play is like a mini that's even beyond just this gang war. It's a weird play to start off in gang war, and then it might go on a little longer. Whatever the case may be, seems like it's going to really, deal with that play of her son. It's funny because I asked Zach to do this with me. No sort of background with Jessica Drew.
I know of her, but I know nothing about her.
Yeah, so when you get into this, I don't know that it's really new user-friendly, especially dealing with the idea of, oh my God, I can't, nobody remembers my son. Well, if you don't know the character, then you're not really going to get the oomph from that. And if a lot of people, and again, a lot of people that I talk to don't really love Dan Slott, probably didn't read the Spider-Man book that this kind of came from. So it's kind of a weird little niche deal, but I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was horrible. It's just not enough happens in it to really say that it's horrible. We'll have to see how it goes forward, but we'll see what you and I think of it in a second. I'll give you the credits. It is Spider-Woman #1, written by Steve Fox, art by Carola Borelli, colors by Reef Priano, letters by VC Joe Sabino. Because it's such a kind of a weird jumping in deal, I will read the previously. It says, recently, Spider-Woman, a.k.a. Jessica Drew, was severed from the web of life by a special dagger that unraveled her life and caused her to slowly be forgotten as though she'd never existed. And if you didn't know, it was a possessed Spider-Man noir that did that, which I was so upset when it did happen. I did read the story this comes from, but I was so upset, like, oh man, I like Spider-Man noir. And then he went and done that, but he was possessed. Fortunately, her friends and fellow Spider people were able to mend the web of life and bring back Spider-Woman before she disappeared forever. But she didn't quite return to the life she left. Something very important still missing. It's her son, Gerald. Now, in this whole play, after we get a map of the gang war that really doesn't play into this issue, you end up where one of the things that did come back from all of that was Spider-Boy. And I'm wondering if there is one of those plays, if it's like a tit for tat. If this person comes back, that person can't, whatever. We'll have to see how this all evolves. But for now, if you're here fully gang war and you want to know, do I need to read this first issue to know any? Not really. This is going to be for Jessica fans. This is going to be for Spider-Woman fans that will want to continue and find out if they can find Gerald. But even then, I'm not so sure that Spider-Woman fans will even like it. It's very odd. It's kind of, I said that it wasn't bad. I found it a bit generic. Again, though, you're jumping into it without any sort of background with Jessica. But you said to me before we recorded that you needed to do research to even get what they were talking. This was not like it was like, okay, this will be good for new readers. It'll introduce you to what's going on. Now, I'll give you one thing that I told you right before. When Jessica shows up, it's almost like, the whole, it'll be a nursery rhyme. When Jessica Drew shows up, Hydra is soon to follow because that's her big thing. That's the big, and it doesn't matter if Hydra hasn't been around for a while. It doesn't matter if Hydra ends up being nothing. They will show up in some way, and they do here. This play of trying to get this weird connection to Diamondback, being kind of like led by, or
they want to join the gang war. Why?
Again, you have some weird plays where, Hydra out of nowhere is like, well, we've kind of been down and out. We're nothing now, but boy, it'd be pretty cool to get in that gang war. And that seems to be like, that's the really thin excuse for what I think a lot of these tie-ins will be. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier on in our first strike, the whole gang war first strike. You are really basing this gang war. It's a foundation of sand. You're really basing it on a lot of things that weren't set up, or a lot of things that were ignored by most of the books, specifically the whole deal of Fisk law, where you can't have masks, no vigilantes. You're never going to be able to follow that in the regular books anyway, because then you don't have books, and that's been going on for too long. But even in something like this, where you're just going to say gang war and then grab a bunch of bad guys to say, ooh, I want to get involved in gang war, and that's what this is. So there's like really loose ways of getting involved. That's kind of paper thin in my mind. But when we get into it, like said about maybe the Luke Cage book this week, maybe if you kind of push that gang war idea aside and just go with, oh, okay, I'm going to use this as just, hey, let's have a Spider-Woman comic. It's, like we said, kind of basic, but it's still not bad. And you end up where Jessica is going around and she is trying to find Hydra. She ends up going and she's really pissed off, as she would be, because her son, she thinks that they're involved. She wants to find out all these things going down. And she has a, fight with Armadillo. It's okay. I mean, you get some action. She fights Armadillo. You see that she has, the Venom Punch deal and says, hey, I want to know what's going on. Do you know? And he says, Armadillo's like, I'm not that bad a guy. I ended up dealing with these bad guys for, a hot minute, but I'm not like them. I'm not that bad. You don't really get much here. You actually don't really get anything at all, really. But you have a fight and you get to see some things, the lay of the land and things like that. But we then move to Diamondback, who is going into a facility to meet up with Hydra. I think that at this point, I don't know that I brand any coats or lab, anything Hydra. Like, just get rid of the thing. I mean, you're laying low. I think that what they should be doing fully is using that to their advantage. The idea of, hey, nobody really thinks we're doing anything, whatnot, but you have to have it, I guess, for the deal. But you have Diamondback come in, and they're talking about, the whole play of these drugs and the things going out and the formula, and it's okay. Again, nothing's really set up very well. Did you get, all you get from this is pretty much, okay, Diamondback's teaming up with Hydra. They have these drugs that are going out. They end up, pretty much enhancing you. And then move on. There's really not much more of that. But I'll even give it to you then, because then you get Jessica going back to her apartment, and this is where she's upset. She remembers her son Gerald. Nobody else does. She thinks something's missing. Where is it? Oh, my God. And she's trying to figure that out when Captain Marvel comes in.
Yeah, our gal Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah, and dressed up in her new outfit. Doesn't seem to be full-out Negaband stuff with Una.
Doesn't mention Una at all.
No, so it doesn't really tie in anything with the current series, which some people might say that's fine with them. Maybe they're not reading that, but it is weird to have the new outfit and not even mention anything. But she just comes in and says, hey, what's going on? And Jessica's like, well, is there anything that seems to be missing? Is there anything that you see? Because she says even before, and at one point I thought how they were playing this was that she knew something was missing but didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like it was nagging at her. But then at one point she says, I knew I wasn't crazy. My baby boy, I'm going to find my baby. Like she actually realizes that that's what's gone, that he's gone. But then kind of beats around the bush a bit and doesn't come out, to Carol, like what's going on. But really, this is just Carol to show up and say, hey, everybody, I'm best friends with Jessica. I'll be here going and, if something happens, get a hold of me. So you have that. Again, though, if you're going by the Alyssa Wong book that just started, Carol better talk really quick because she's going to be going back to that negative zone quick.
No. She has time to talk to that lady afterwards.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is not even going to play with any of that. So I don't know how they're going to play overall. It just doesn't tie in at all. But yeah, they're just talking. They're going, and then, she goes off because this is the play where Carol shows up and says that, hey, Jessica, people said that you were acting weird. She's like, no, I think I'm missing something. Is anything? I love the idea where she's like, can you think of anything that I'm missing? And then tries to push her stomach out to pretend she's pregnant. It was very odd. They're playing charades.
She might as well have just cradled, after she had a baby. You notice anything missing?
It was weird, as if they played this game like she's not allowed to say it. But if somebody else says it, you know what I mean? It felt really weird.
She might not want to sound crazy, but at the same time, it's also you just came back from existence or whatever. So,
Yeah, the thing, it's such a weird play. It's almost like a flashpoint. Actually, when we were talking about it when it came out, I kind of said when it ended up happening, because you're pretty much stitching back existence. You're stitching back the web of life. So when you come back, people kind of know, you're there, you're fine. And it's just that she was missing her son. Such a weird play with that web of life. But when she goes over, that's Madam Web, that Carol goes over. And this whole play again seemed like this, hey, you go and, run in and see it. Everybody's beating around the bush. Everybody's not coming out. Jessica should say, because again, they're superheroes. If Jessica says, listen, this might sound crazy, but I have a son, and he's missing now when I came back after being set. You might kind of get the idea where Carol's like, yeah, I've been through some wacky stuff too. Let's figure out what's going on. But when you go over there, Madam Web's just like standing on the opposite side, like stalking from, across the street felt weird too, about the idea of, yeah, she is acting a little strange. And then Madam Web says, I'll shadow her, and you have your own threads to follow. When you get Madam Web and things like that, you're going to get everything kind of tying into web puns and things, it seems. So she says, all right, well, we'll see how it is. And says, the web has endured much, but we thought it repaired. We thought all that is lost had been restored, but there's still something missing, as if Madam Web said to Carol, go and see what might be missing. But yet nobody wants to say it out loud. It's very odd. Then you get the web, and that's a pretty good representation there of that, where the web has been stitched together, but there is that space there for Gerald, which is a big thing. But I don't know, it seems so big that you wouldn't have Jessica get involved with anything else but this, or have Jessica go to Madam Web, or it just feels weird that, we established this, what we're going to have, but then she kind of moves forward to go and, kick some butt and go and try to take down Diamondback because he's there with his drugs. And in my mind, this doesn't connect. This doesn't make it feel like she thinks that Diamondback's involved in this. This is just another thing. And I don't know. She always has that thing going with Hydra, though. So she ends up watching, and there's, Diamondback, and he's talking his game. He's like, hey, everybody, we got this new drug. We're going to take it out, the new and improved Diamond. And you go out, give it to everybody. I like that at one point when they were talking with Hydra. They're like, listen, it's really like a bad business type deal to have a drug that people always die from. So we kind of got rid of a lot of the lethal parts of it. Now people just like it. And it's okay. You end up where they're going to take it, and they're able to kind of get enhanced. Like I said, it's weird. They don't really spell it out fully. It's just like, hey, you go take it, whatever. Again, when we're reading this and you're going through it, this part, again, it doesn't really need to be like, oh, I don't understand because of Jessica, but it's okay. I mean, I'm asking you, did you enjoy it? Or it's just like a generic superhero type deal, right?
We need her to go up against Diamondback because he's part of the gang war, and somehow you got to get Jessica involved. And said, what? Just have Spider. You do it anyway. You have Spider-Man show up at the end, and be like, "I need your help against Diamondback." That should have just been the start of the issue.
Yeah, I think that what they should have done. And here's the thing: if this is, and it seems to be, like I said, maybe a mini. When I first saw it announced, it was announced as a series, but maybe it is, even if it's 5-issue mini. Why tie it in at the beginning to an event where when people start to pick and choose the books, there's already a bunch of books, and you're going to be like, well, I don't really need, the. But if you have it as a solo issue, then maybe the fans of Jessica. But I think that you're playing a weird game. It's the devil's hand here, because again, if you're a Jessica Jones or Jessica Drew fan, you might be like, well, I'm not into this whole gang war. I'm not buying anything else, so I'll just skip that and see what happens. It's a weird play to tie it to start. Because like you said, in this, I think that the most interesting thing is her trying to find her son, Gerald.
Yeah, that's what I was interested in.
Kicking Diamondback in the face and then gets attacked by Green Mamba, this crazy Hydra. Again, everything feels like it's like basic, generic 101 super. It's not bad, again, because you're getting your superhero action. But it's nothing that I'm going to sit there and be wowed by because it's kind of generic. Yeah. I like seeing Jessica, and she's fighting this Green Mamba, ends up punching him, and you think that he's done, and then he comes back. I'm like, all right, now we're just padding pages here. The fight just starts up again like the whole deal, They Live, the Rowdy Roddy Piper movie, where that fight lasted forever. But you end up where the big fight goes, she gets thrown into what I don't even, like a weird deal that looks like it breaks and electrocutes her, and I wasn't sure what that was.
No, I could not tell you.
Yeah, and she ends up, it's like on the wall. She ends up, it kind of breaks, and then I thought, well, maybe the art was, but then you see it later broken behind her, but I don't know what it was. So all this going on, and yeah, you end up where, okay, what are we going to do? Because Green Mamba has thrown Jessica. There's this electrical deal. She kind of seems like she might pass out. And then Diamondback goes, oh, everybody here, you can beat her up, but don't kill her. I don't want her dead. because I don't want her dead.
What?
But you can beat her up. I'm like, what? And
Just
so
kill
then,
her.
yeah, these people then take this diamond drug. They seem to get enhanced, and then you don't even show the fight.
I know. I got so mad at that.
She's like, 501. It's a classic. 501. Sucks to be you. 3 minutes later, and they're all why? Like, that is, again, another bit of, it feels like filler or padding. It's very odd. Again, it doesn't break the issue, but it's just weird. And she gets some samples of this diamond, goes off then to then kind of put that aside to go talk to Spider-Man, who's there and says, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Hey, and oh, this gang war is happening. Like, that's the end. The gang war tie-in is the last page of basically the gangs are about to war. You get it? It's a gang war, and I might need your help. They're going to overrun the city. Will you be able to help me? And I thought to myself, okay, at this point, Jessica's son, Gerald, he's missing. She doesn't know what happened. He didn't come back, right? Then you get Diamondback, who she's fighting in this drug and whatnot. Now Spider-Man's like, hey, by the way, I want you to do this. I think she's got a lot going on. At least she ties it into as long as I can get Diamondback. But I'm like, I think you might want to go and look for Gerald and see what happened there. But it's kind of a weird, again, it feels like a story that they want to tell with Gerald, but then they have to wrap it into the gang war. So there you go. She says, yeah, as long as I get Diamondback. So she's just going to do the same thing that she was going to do. Just the idea that she might get some extra credit then from Spidey for doing it. I don't know. It's very odd. Again, Spider-Man's somebody, unlike Carol, unlike Captain Marvel, Spidey knows what the deal is. And in fact, he got stabbed too. So the idea where if she's going to go to somebody about Gerald, if she's going to talk, you might, you want to push the best friend Carol deal, but Spider-Man really would know a lot more about that. And maybe, you should have done that, but they're busy with the gang war. That doesn't seem to have started yet in this. This is kind of the play that we had in the Luke Cage book too, where it hasn't quite started, but everybody knows it's brewing. Let's see what's going to go on. There's a cool page at the end. I mean, the art's okay, and the overall story, like I said, it might be very basic, but it sets up a couple things that people who like Jessica might be into. But overall, it's just a weird issue. It's a weird kind of basic issue. What would you give it?
I'm just going to give it a normal 5. I mean, to me, it's very basic, very generic, but also convoluted because if you have no clue who Jessica Drew is,
that's
you're going to be
a
lost.
Big problem. I'm actually a 7 because of that. I end up it's tying into the thing that I read recently with her, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see. And the art's okay. Again, though, that's a 7 with a very, asterisk of, it's generic. You're not going to get wowed by this. This is a basic thing. But if you like Jessica and know Jessica, it works out a lot better.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.